Hi everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at scope in Python. In Python, a variable is only available from inside the region that it is created. So if I were to create a function, say the function is called function, and I am going to create a variable within the function which is I and it's equal to 0, and then I'm going to go ahead and print the value of I, and that is what the function does. So now if I try to print the value of I from outside of the function, I am going to get an error in the console, and that is exactly what happens, as you can see. And the reason that happens is quite simply because we're trying to print out a variable at a global level which is only defined locally within the function. And that is not going to work. The only way we can print out I legitimately is by going ahead and calling the actual function. You'll see if I call the function, then there's no surprise because the value of I, which is 0, is being output in the console. Okay, so inside the function, however, the variable is always accessible. And to see that this is the case, let's say we have a function within our function. So I'm going to go ahead and create another function within the function. So define the inner function. And we are going to then print I, and we need to call the inner function. Then we need to go ahead and delete this. So if I go ahead and run this now, you'll see that the value of I has been printed. That means if we call the function and the inner function as we have done in the code over here, then the value of I can be printed without any problems. If, however, we switch the variable I with the print function, then the variable is out of scope again. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take the variable I, put it in the inner function, and put the print I in the outer function. So let's go ahead and run this, and you'll see that now the variable I is out of scope again, as you see in the error, which is being shown in the console output. Variables that we define in the main body of our code are always accessible. The variables which we define at a global level are called global variables. So yeah, let's make I a global variable. We're going to say that I is equal to 0 at a global level. And then we are going to write define function print I, and now we are going to go ahead and run this code, and there's not going to be any problem again because the variable is accessed from within the function we defined. So if we call the function, the value is printed. And so now let us go on to the next step. So variables with the same name but different scope can have different values. So if, for example, we have the value of I at the global level be 0, we can go ahead and give I another value within our function at a local level. And now if we go ahead and print both I at a local level by calling the function and print I at a global level, then you'll see that we get the values 5 and 0 appear in the console output. So let me go ahead and quickly explain why exactly that is. So the first 5 that appears in the console output is the 5 which results from the call to the function. It is the print over here, which prints out the value of 5 after we call the function. And then the second number, which is the number 0, is the result of the print statement I made down here, which prints out I at the global level, which is equal to 0. Finally, I want to go ahead and talk about the keyword global. If you need to overwrite a global variable in the local scope, then you could do this by the following way. So if I go ahead and write global I, global I, and I equals 5. I'm going to go ahead and put another print function in here so you can really see that we changed the value. And subsequently, I am going to print it out here again. So if we go ahead and run this code, you will see that we have now managed to overwrite the global value of I, which we declared initially. So at a global level, we first said that I equals 0 and printed it out. And that's why we have the first 0 in our console output. Then in the function itself, we said that the global I, which is this I over here, which I've just marked in blue, it should be equal to 5. And then we go ahead and print it if the function is called. And that is the case. We make a function call right over here. So the function is called, the global variable I is given the value of 5, and it is printed. That's where the second 5 comes from. And the last 5 comes from the new value of I which we have assigned, because we've assigned it at a global level. So that is where that is why the value of I is in fact available again at a global level. You can even leave out the first I over here completely. So if I delete these 2 lines of code, then we have created a global variable instead of overwriting it at a local scope. So we have now created a global variable at a local scope. So now if I go ahead and run this again, you will see that it prints out 2 5s in the console. The first 5 emerges from the function call, which is the function call over here. After the function is called, the global variable I is assigned the value of 5 and it is printed. And since it is a global variable, because we've used the keyword global, it is also available to this print function down here. And that is exactly why we get the second 5 printed out. Alright, so this episode on scope is actually going to conclude the tutorial series that I've created on Python. And I will, of course, continue to bring out really awesome stuff on Python on this channel, but I will not continue numbering the episodes of the individual Python videos that I continue to bring out. And the reason why I won't continue numbering the episodes is because I simply don't want you to get the impression that you need to learn all of the things coming up on this channel in the order that I number them. I think you should much rather learn the material from the first 15 episodes really carefully and then move on to the topics that you find most relevant and that you find most interesting, whether that's machine learning, AI, data science, object-oriented programming, or whatever that may be. So I, on this channel, will continue to make a lot of videos on game development, some data science, a bit of AI, and if that is interesting to you and you would like to support this channel, then consider subscribing and giving this video a like. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next video, so see you there.